Hi, good evening everyone. Welcome. I'm Tanushree, and I'm super pleased to be here today with my teachers, Bawa and Dinesh. And what I wanted to start off by saying is first a little bit about myself. I'm an architect faculty. I've been teaching this course for almost 7 years now. I travel and teach youth programs across the country. And when I look back at the journey of when I'm still learning, but when I was not yet a teacher, and a few things that stand out were my mentors, their role in taking me forward to where I am now. And this key thing that I remember about this whole journey is how Bawa and Dinesh helped me learn things that I actually had no idea about. And the topmost in that category, I would like to say, has been cooking for one. Because I remember very clearly when I met Bawa for the first time, the kitchen was just a place where I go to drop dishes. Because my mom is an excellent cook, never had to cook, so never did. And then one day, Baba says, make something. And I was like, what? Cooking? I have no idea how to do this. And he said, the only way to learn to do something is by doing it. Made a huge, I don't know, something clicked. And I said, okay, fine, let's do this. And just started cooking. And before I knew it, I was getting better and better at it. And that is actually where I wanted to start this evening. I wanted to ask you this question, Baba. I've been meaning to ask you for a long time. This of learning that you've been speaking about, that you're speaking about in the book, is it multidisciplinary? Can it help you learn anything, or is it just studies?
Absolutely. It can help you learn absolutely anything at all that you wish to learn. In fact, recently on my birthday, actually, I was supposed to give Dinesh a hoverboard as his birthday present, but he beat me to it and gave it to me as my birthday present. And you know, hoverboards, right? They are dangerous things. And it's so interesting when we apply the techniques of learning that we talk about in the book of hoverboarding. It was exactly like that. Uh, you know, exactly what we talked in the book. We just did it, and I have become pretty good at it now. If you want, I can give a demo. The same way, I was actually thinking of creating an entire video. I play the piano, and I took up a new piece. And usually, I don't have a plan or a strategy to learn a new piece on the piano. I just go on and on until I get it. But after maybe over 15, 20 years, maybe more than that of playing the piano, I finally just put a strategy in place, following the things that I talk about in my book. And I found to my absolute delight that that piece, which I thought would take me a month, I managed to get in 5 or 6 days.
Wow,
So
there's a
it
chance.
is really multidisciplinary.
So personally, you could learn how to play a sport, for instance,
Of course you could.
with the zero balance that I have been born with.
Totally.
Then there's hope for everyone.
There is hope for everybody. In fact, one of the key learnings of our book is you can learn.
That is so cool. Especially if this is learned in school. I mean, if I was told in school that I could do anything, I would probably do something different than what I chose to do in my studies later on.
But now you're doing something different.
Now I am. Because I found you. I also wanted to ask you about from the perspective of the teacher. Actually, a teacher has asked this question. How can I instill creativity and innovation in my students? And will your book help me do that?
It will help you do that. In fact, education, if it is not full of aha moments, is failed. If you are a teacher who cannot instill an aha moment into your audience, into your students, then they are going to be sleeping. So people think that teaching is an easy job. Anybody can teach. I beg to differ. Teaching is one of the most super specialized things that a human being can do, right? And typically for an hour-long lecture, if you really want to hit, you would be working 20 hours. You do, and then you go and give that lecture, you will have an audience which is enthralled. The good part is you need to do it once. You know, you need to put in those 20 hours once for that lecture. After that, you can keep giving that lecture again and again to different audiences. Which is how we have designed all our workshops. The use of brain workshop, the mathematics workshop, the sounds magnificent workshop, which which talks about appreciating Western classical music. So all our workshops, I think I spent a few months thinking about them, developing them, and creating them. Not just me, Dinesh, and all the other people around us. They become guinea pigs, and I try things out on them, and accordingly, then we either decide to put it in the workshop or not. It's a lot of behind the scenes thing that happens to give that experience to the user. Yeah. In fact, what I tell all our out of teachers is this only: what, how can I, what can I do, and how can I do it so that the students in my class understand stuff better. That is the point of the teacher.
Okay. So for me, like you are a master teacher, you can basically teach anybody anything. So why would you
Anything I know.
Okay. Why would you write a book and let people in on this?
The best way to learn is to teach someone how to. And if you don't do that, then you are doomed to repeat it again and again until you die. So, Dinesh and my philosophy has always been this, that when we learn something, whether it is a new recipe, whether it is how to hoverboard, whether it's a cool new technique that we learn, anything, whatever it is that we have learned, of course, with the permission of the person who has taught us, we want to get out there and give it to as many people who care to learn from us. Because then that's successful. And let me give you an example. Since we talked about cooking, actually this show was supposed to take place in our kitchen, and it's taking place in our hall. If you are wondering, this is Bawa and Dinesh's kitchen. It is not. It is the hall. The kitchen had too many technical glitches, so maybe we will do it next week or the week after that. I promise you that there will be a few recipes on these shows, which you can make up very quickly. But so let's say I went traveling somewhere and I was staying at someone's house and they made the most amazing biryani. The last time I got to Hyderabad, that had happened. They made the most amazing biryani. So I went to the lady of the house and I said, "You have to teach me this." So she said, "Okay." And the next day we had biryani again because now she taught me how to cook it, right? And in a few days' time, we were there for about 7-10 days. So after a few days, I said, "You know what? I would like to do that biryani under your supervision." So she said, "Okay." People kind of tolerate me because of the gray hair. So I was in the kitchen and with her, and she was teaching me how to make the biryani, and I learned it. I took notes. I recorded her on the iPad and all that. Then I came back home and I called a few people and I said, "Let's have biryani." So this time I just cooked for everyone. And oh my God, this was great. The next weekend, I said, "Okay, we're going to make the biryani again. You do this, you do this, you do this, you do this." And we had 4 or 5 people getting together, making the biryani. So now they are getting to know how to make the biryani. 2 weeks later, almost everybody who had helped me make the biryani knew how to make the biryani. So now what happens? I don't have to cook it anymore. I just tell those people make the biryani for me.
Oh, how nice!
That's the point of sharing knowledge. That's the point of giving away what you know, so that you can free your brain up for.
And all this while in school, whenever we wanted to teach our friends something, our parents or teachers would say, "You manage your stuff first, then go about
It
teaching
is
others."
such a wrong thing. It is said that 50% of what you hear and see you remember, and 70% of what you discuss you remember, but 95% of what you teach you remember. So if you are teaching something to somebody, if you are teaching how to solve partial differential equations to your friend, chances are that you are going to remember that for the rest of your life.
So essentially, exam prep should always happen together.
Exam prep should happen together with each person teaching each other. I mean, that's how we should do it in IIT. You say we have a 20 chapter textbook, right? And that's one of the tips in the book. Everybody needs to learn the first 5-6 chapters by themselves. That's self-study, right? Because that's the basics. But after that, it is applications upon applications upon applications. So you do 2 chapters, I do 2 chapters, Dinesh does 2 chapters, and then we get together and you teach me yours, I teach, So within a week, it would normally take an entire semester.
We need to rework the whole education. So somebody wanted to know what were you like at school? Were you like a backbencher? Were you the teacher's pet, always raising your hand and answering questions?
I was very average, extremely average. I never aspired for more marks, so to speak. I was also very inquisitive, and I was a good guy. I was a nice kid, very forgettable.
Really?
Yes, and I was one of those miscellaneous, etc. types. Didn't come first, didn't come last, didn't do just a good kid who normally did his homework and didn't usually get it.
So you saved all that up for later.
For IIT, IIT was when actually when I did my BSc, I failed. It was the first time I failed in my life, and it was quite a shock. That's how our book opens. It opens about with me talking about. I think that was one of the best things that happened to me in retrospect, because then I got down to really learning maths. It was an ego problem. How can I fail? So I learned, and as I was learning, I realized there was so much beauty to it when you are out of the lectures and when you're studying by yourself. And you got the library and you got really good books to read instead of just that textbook. And like I told you, I can't keep things to myself. So I called a friend of mine. I said, I want to teach you this. He said, but I've already cleared the exam. I said, that doesn't matter. You just sit there and learn. In fact, it happened in such a way that that guy got so involved with me that he gave the exam again.
Wow.
He had got 58%, and he said, sitting with you and learning all this, just let me give the exam again. And we both studied together, and we both got first class after that. Yeah, once you get over the initial shock of failing, uh, and you really get down to work, many big things happen. And this continued in IIT. In IIT, I took 3.5 years to do a 2-year course, which means I failed a lot. But you kind of get used to it. Oh, all right, this is not the way to do it. And because of all those failures, I learned how to learn. I learned that there needs to be a strategy there to learn. And when that strategy is applied to any learning, learn.
So it's just a structure.
Yeah. It's just a steps to follow really. And when I was writing this book, Dinesh was the guinea pig, and he would have to read whatever I wrote, and he would keep going, "Oh, I didn't know this." Then I realized even he didn't know how to learn. And then we gave our Use Your Brain workshop, which is the workshop that we just developed about from as part of this book. We gave it in IIT Delhi, and we had around 600 people in a 450 people auditorium.
Wow.
And hardly any of them left, like 5 people left. This
So rare
is
for us.
yeah, this is unheard of. And I was talking to people who clearly know how to study. And we got a lot of emails and a lot of WhatsApp messages saying that they too benefited from what I taught. So I guess people really don't know how to learn, even if they are in IIT or wherever they are. And so I hope that this book that we wrote can really turn around the way education is done, turn around the way students learn, turn around the way teachers teach, and turn definitely, hopefully, please God, uh, make parents' attitude towards learning change.
Amen to that.
In our living, we now have this very beautiful process called the infusion process, where these kids learn a certain technique and their intuition develops. Really well. Some children they can close their eyes and read books. They can divine what's going to happen next. And for some children, just hidden talents start coming up. So some children become very good dancers, some children become very good poets, some children become very good at karate. But those kids can't do the special effects of reading blindfolded. And the other day, one of the intuition process teachers was saying that now it is creating more stress in the house, this process. I said, why? Because said first it used to be to the children, the parents would say, study. Now they say study with your eyes closed. So that's not the point of the process. Parents have to really stop wanting to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. My son is smarter than yours. My son gets
It's
better.
more intuitive than yours.
Yeah, now it's when will this ridiculous race for one-upmanship stop and actual learning happen? This is the message from the book to all the parents. Really, stop asking your children, pass hua kya? Kitne marks mile? Because then what you're doing to the kid is you're saying marks and passing is more important than learning. When the kid comes home from school, ask, what did you learn? What did you learn? When the child realizes, oh, learning is more important than getting great grades. And by the way, when you have learned, you get great grades.
Actually, the next question is for Dinesh.
Thank God.
Yeah, you have this amazing ability to quote beautiful Sanskrit text so appropriately and correctly at the right time. How do you memorize all this stuff? And can you teach our viewers how they could remember things better for like a presentation or an exam or a or something?
So I had studied Sanskrit in my 8th, 9th and 10th standard. It was mostly for the marks because you can score a lot in Sanskrit. And I never developed an interest for it until I came into the art of living, and I would sit in all these pujas and hear all these lovely chants, and that fascinated me. That developed an interest, in fact, I would say passion, to learn more Sanskrit. So whether it was any of the Ashtakams or the Lalita Sahasranam, the Vishnu Sahasranam, and they would quote Sanskrit here and there. I would always note it down and then repeat it myself. But after the book came about, I understood what is the most effective way to learn. So yes, you do it 100 times, you will learn, no doubt. But okay, you have a Sanskrit text, maybe 8 bound shlokas, and you learn it a few times, then you give it back, and then you learn it again. So there is a way to this which has been elucidated in the book. And
don't give it too many secrets. Otherwise, nobody will buy the book. By the way, I hope you realize this entire show is about you buying the book. So it's on Amazon.in. You can go to this URL bit.ly/ready study go, all in small letters. It will take you directly to that page where you can buy our book. Please do that now. Pregnant pause. Yeah. No, really, there is so much wonderful things in this book, and we really wanted to get to as many people as possible. HarperCollins has been kind enough to keep it at a very cheap rate. It's just 209 rupees on Amazon with I think a 14 rupee delivery. So it's just $150 for the secrets of learning from two IITians. I think that's a good deal, buddy. Yeah.
When I stopped learning from marks, and developed an interest, a passion in it, and applied those nice tips about effective learning, then it became so much more easy. I could achieve much more in a shorter time.
So I incidentally got a cheap sneak peek into their amazing book. And I would like to say it has some beautiful illustrations. Whenever I go to choose a book to a bookstore, I just flip through and see if there are nice pictures. And this one has the most beautiful pictures. Now, would you like to talk about the illustrations?
Yeah, there were 7 illustrations to start with, and now there are 72. So it kind of got out of hand, but I think in a very good way. They are really pretty, and they will be available for download on our website bawaanddinesh.in, which is currently under development. This week and or by next Friday on our next live event, you may be able to launch that website, and you could see those images for yourself. There are some really pretty images. They have been created by many people, and yeah, when we actually launch the website, we'll talk about it.
And how to code for that website, that also Bawa has learned using all the techniques.
How did you do this?
habit.
So one of the viewers who is a corporate trader is asking, as people age, they slowly start losing the ability to learn at the rate at which they're learning when they're younger. So is there a way to come out of that?
Yes.
And have you spoken about that also?
No.
Not yet.
I mean, no, I'm not going to speak about it here. I think I'm talking about it on the book, and we talk about it on the Use Your Brain workshop. There are three big brain hacks. Three big brain hacks which help you learn anything really quick. They are all fairly simple to do, but they need to be done. And you figure out which they are, what they are.
A parent is asking, how do I make my teenage children focus on studies and not going out with friends and partying all the time?
Let them do that. Okay. For most young people, they are very, very responsible about their work. If you would just get off their backs and let them do what they have to do, they will do it. Okay. One of the fallacies that is there about studying is that you should be sitting there and studying 3 hours, 4 hours. I challenge you yourself, you sit for 3 hours with one book and see what happens to your mind. Your mind will go all over the place. 3 hours you will sit there, work done will be 20 minutes. Might as well just sit for 20 minutes and really focus. Right? So, 20-minute chunks, 20 minutes, half an hour, you sit, focus, then you go away. Then you come back, then you go away. Then you come back, then you go away. When you do it like this, you can go on for a long time. But if you are sitting there and saying, okay, I studied something for 3 hours, you are bullshitting yourself. It is not possible. Okay? It is a physical impossibility in the brain to be able to focus for such a long time. It's the way the brain is made.
Would it be true even for something that you really enjoy doing?
Even for something that you really enjoy doing, you will find that you will think now it's enough. Like I enjoy playing the piano, but I cannot play the piano more than 20 minutes, half an hour. Yeah? I think other than watching TV or doing some Facebooking or something, for mindless activity, it is okay. You can drive for 6 hours at a time because it's a mindless activity. You're not really, you're not bothered about what you're doing. It's happening automatically. So for automatic stuff, you can go on for a long time. But when it comes to focused work, you cannot do it for more than half an hour, 40 minutes. If you are a normal human being. We're not talking about chess grandmasters and those people like that. But for normal human beings, half an hour to 40 minutes is a huge accomplishment if you can sit in one place and do this.
So classes in school probably need to get shorter.
Yeah, the other day I was talking to a friend of ours, and she was saying that her son, the teacher was concerned about the performance of her son who got 45 on 60, which I think is anyway too much. And the teacher was saying, don't worry, he will catch up. Catch up, you mean what's wrong? 45 on 60, that's up. Right? And she said, he will cut off his yoga and music and make him study more. This is a ridiculous thing to do.
Counterproductive.
Completely counterproductive. Many schools are cutting down on recess. Sports. It's stupid. I think I will have to say it out. One of the brain hacks is exercise. The answer to that question, as you grow older. Yeah, as you grow older, you lose a lot of neurons in your head. But exercise triggers your hippocampus, a part in your brain, to produce new neurons. So exercise actually keeps you young. And that's what's happening in research. The kids are running around, playing around with this movement. Their brains are regenerating themselves, physically regenerating. This is cutting-edge research just a few years ago. So, to cut down research, to cut down playtime is utterly counterproductive to study. And people have to realize this. I'm always surprised that the educators, the people who are doing education all over the world don't bother about reading research, cutting-edge research in education. It's very sad.
It's so true because a lot of, there's this joke in science that there is more research done on mice than on humans. Yes. You know more about mice than.
You want to win in the rat race, you don't have to be a rat. You can really.
So Archit is asking, you keep hopping roles like from a mathematician to a teacher and then an entrepreneur, a musician, a CST practitioner, and now an author. How do you juggle so many roles and excel in each? Can it be learned?
We do.
So
Yes.
nudge, go register,
Bye.
pre-book the
We
book
are-
on Amazon, bit.ly/ready study. It's a fantastic. Now another question. Um, it is said that getting a book published is very difficult. How did you get HarperCollins India to publish it?
We went and asked nicely. And they said yes. I think it is very difficult to get a badly written book published. It's not so difficult to get a well written book published. If you focus on quality, things will happen for you, not just with publishing, but with anything. Many people are very okay with mediocrity. If there is one thing Woodward has taught me, it is always go for the best. Always go for the best. And you know, it took us about 3 years, approximately 3 years to write our book. Because every single line, every single sentence had to be just right. You know, I wouldn't like to inflict on other people what I myself would find boring, isn't it? So this book I have read a few thousand times. A thousand is an exaggeration, but definitely a few hundred times. Still, there is one typo, a very bad typo that was crept in. Maybe I can put it as a challenge. The first person who figures out the typo, we will give you a free deal at Vishala in our ashram.
Yay! A teacher is asking again that some of my students have very poor attention, and a lot of the students nowadays are reporting attention deficiency disorder. Things like that. Is there a particular diet or lifestyle change or some techniques that could help students who are going through this?
Yes, there are many yoga techniques. Nadi Shodhan Pranayam is one of them. We talked about Nadi Shodhan Pranayam and Prataka, right? There are these two techniques that you can learn actually from a book. The others, I would suggest you go to a teacher of yoga to learn. They can make a huge difference in the way you focus. Definitely there are. But you know, this ADHD and all these are just names. I think you should not bother too much about these names. If you just keep your class interesting, you will find that the students focus. Because the same people with ADHD and all that can sit and watch 2 hours football match without any problem.
Wow.
So it just needs to be interesting. The challenge is to make it interesting. I remember our history teacher, there was Mrs. Donata. You know, she was a history teacher in Don Bosco in our school, and she was the most sought after history teacher. And all the divisions would, wherever she would, the first lecture, you don't know who's going to teach you, right? So when she would enter the class, the whole class would go, "Yay! Donuts is here!" To call her Donut. And I never knew why, because I never had a history class with her. But I think in my ninth standard, she walked in, and of course, all the students were like, "Yay!" And then I realized why. She never ever read a history textbook. She would make us act it out. So the entire history class would be drama company. Someone would be Shivaji, and someone would be Aurangzeb, and someone would be the soldiers, and someone would be Jijamata. And when you act it out, you can't forget it. So it was so easy. History was so easy because we just acted out everything. And that's the way she used to make a class so interesting. And history was an amazing subject for that 1 year. Every single student in the class was like 48 on 50, 49 on 50 like that. So it's really up to the teacher. But sometimes the teachers fail, then it's up to the students. Yeah? Just because you have a bad teacher, it does not mean that the subject is bad. Just the teacher is bad. The subject is wonderful.
To dissociate dislike towards the teacher.
Right.
Another student is asking this question, and I'm sort of going to ask this as well. So in classrooms, is taking notes a good idea? Because I've heard many people say that writing things down makes you remember it. But is it a good idea to write when somebody's talking?
With the technology that we have these days, I would just put iPad or a phone and record the teacher and really listen and sit and write. Because while I'm writing, I'm listening to what they're saying. Having said that, writing is a great idea. A lot of people like to study by reading, but remember that when you go to the exam, you don't get marks for reading, you get marks for writing. So it's a good idea to get into the habit of writing, right? So there is a mixed opinion about this. I personally never take notes. I like to sit and listen. Dinesh, I know, is a compulsive note taker.
I only take notes as pointers, not
Compulsive. Right? Then after a lecture, we will come back home and there will be this sheet of papers which make absolutely no sense to anybody other than Dinesh. The problem with that is, it gives you the illusion of competence. You feel that because you have written it down, you know it. Many times you don't go back to those notes. Now, I'm not talking about Dinesh here. Dinesh is very meticulous. He will go back to the notes, he will get them into notes in his phone, then he will write more things about he's another league. But many people, they get into this illusion of competence by taking notes and they feel, okay, now I know, and then they don't refer to the notes and actually they don't. This is the danger of taking notes. But yeah, there are pros and cons to it. Yeah. I would use an iPad or I would use a phone to record the lecture and really listen rather than bother taking notes.
I feel notes to be taken as pointers for record and revise.
It's a good idea. Yeah.
Sometimes it's so much information
Exactly.
you may not be catching it.
Yeah, you cannot catch everything, but you catch a lot. And for me, I feel when I write, I don't catch so much.
So it's different.
And it's best to then discuss with other.
Absolutely. Yeah. Most people come out of the lecture, hey, khatam ho gaya, what's for lunch? And then they discuss, should we go to have samosa, should we do pizza? And the whole point of the lecture is gone. They should be coming out talking about what happened in the lecture. And typically this will happen when the teacher is very good. Then they come. So there is a lot resting on the shoulder of the teacher. Right? But there are teachers who are really bad. To go through subjects, education with this kind of teachers. Teachers who feel that teaching is a job. These are the worst. Uh, Even then, you need to in your life.
And I think with this book it becomes really easy because it's so many tips and so many
Yeah,
techniques.
there are many tips and techniques that are there which will make studying very interesting. Fact is that you will need to study. You will need to sit there and work.
So interesting, Bawa, when you were saying that you learn more when you discuss and teach. Because when I look back, I remember I had this subject called immunology in my undergrad studies. And it was so confusing because there were so many different cellular reactions. When a foreign body enters, the whole subject is about how the body reacts to something foreign. And then I was lucky to have a senior in my lab that I was intern who loved immunology. So he sat with me on a Sunday morning 3, maybe 4 hours, and just spoke about immunology as if it's a movie or something. And I learned more in those 4 hours than I learned in the entire semester. Turned out to be one of my most favorite subjects. I chose a lab that works on the same thing. And I was just amazed how I suddenly started loving something that I hated earlier. Just because somebody's
Tanu is quite qualified. She did what from Singapore. The only thing I remember about Tanu in Singapore is she made very good food. But yeah, she was studying at the National University of Singapore for quite some time. But
I did my master's there. I studied protein engineering.
Wow. Was that like Chinese? Because we used to come and imitate some Chinese.
No, never
Would you like
learned.
to do that as a special request?
Let's see that at the end.
Yeah, there's a question coming in. Can Tanu please do the Chinese?
Not depend how much time you got. If you got a lot of time, you do more question like. You got no time, then no question can. So in Singapore, there's this very nice thing. Like, they use can as everything. So even if you want to say you can't do something, you don't say I can't. You say I can, but canola. Like I could, but I won't. So, another question very pertinent to a lot of us: procrastination, which holds us back in many things. For me, it has been holding me back in fitness. Because I've been so inspired by Dinesh and his fitness regime. And many times I have resolved that I'm going to go to the gym and just the memory of my previous experiences in the gym makes me postpone it. And for a lot of people, that's the case with studies. Because there is such strong memories that studying is unpleasant, but it keeps making people postpone it. It's like, how to do it.
Well, this part is not covered in our book. But there is a fabulous way to deal with procrastination, and this we talk about on the user brain in detail. Uh, it is not something that I can answer in 2 minutes. It takes a little bit of time to talk about it and really how to get over procrastination, or for that matter, any bad habit. So the next time we are doing a user brain workshop, just go up and learn that from us. Yeah.
You share the next thing.
When is the next date for the user brain? 31st October at Electronic City in Bangalore, and then we will be doing 1 or 2 user workshops in Hyderabad, maybe 2nd or 3rd. Our Facebook updates, and you will get the details. And we will be doing more of these workshops all over the country, and now we are training people. Tanu is one of the people who's been trained to teach the user brain workshop, so there will be many more trainers who will be doing the user brain workshop, so it will be much easier for people to benefit from this workshop. Yeah, Bombay also here. 29th of November at St. Andrews Auditorium is a highly modified user brain workshop. There's a lot of music, singing, and dancing. Don't worry, we are not going to do
But one thing that Tanu has exposed about exercise is saying that I'm not a good exercise teacher because I've not made Tanu do it so far. So, a nice idea for a workshop has come in my mind just now. How to make exercise interesting.
All the best.
My first guinea pig would be Bawa. Yeah, I mean yoga.
You know, if it actually works, I will not be very long. If I have a six-pack, then I'll wear a t-shirt to show off my biceps. All the best, Dinesh.
We'll use all the protein. What is that?
Protein rich. Yeah, I need to have learned more practical aspects of that. How can India generate more innovators? We are known across the world for very hardworking, or being a hardworking workforce, but not really one which is very innovative, comes up with creative ideas, things outside the box. Is there something we can do at homes if the education structure is too complex to change? Is it something a parent can do at home to encourage innovation?
Let me give you an example. So typically, when in a maths class, you talk about volume. So you say, okay, the height of the container is this much, the length is this much, the width is this much, and there is water coming in at this much, whatever meters per second. Then how long will it take the container to fill? Right? This is the way a question in a typical maths or a physics class is going to be asked, and then there are formulas which you kind of learn by heart and just plug in those values and you say, hey, yes, okay, this much time. I have a friend who does this in his maths class. He showed a video. It's almost a 7-minute video. And the only thing that happens in that video is there is a container which is being filled up slowly with water, a glass container which is slowly being filled up with water. So the video starts with the glass container, then the pani comes, the water comes, and then he just lets the class watch it until it fills up. And by the time they are done with it, there is only one question in all their head: how long is it going to take? And so he starts with that. Now they have a question: how long will this take? Suppose the water was little faster, would it fill faster? If it was slower, would it fill slower? If it was smaller or bigger, how would that affect? So from this one video, he then talks about volume, and it is so relevant and so pertinent. right? So if teachers can come up with stuff like this, or parents can come up with stuff like this. I remember once in the ashram when, in the very beginning days of our Sri Ganesha Vidyavanti, Bharat Bhaiya was teaching a class of mathematics to a group of some students. There were 6 students. So we were sitting in one of our halls, and Bharat Bhaiya was going to teach them area. Right? So what he did was he just drew uh, 1 foot by 1 foot box, like yeah, I think he had a cutout of it. And he said, look at this. He said, if I want to uh, fill up the entire floor with these boxes, how many would I require? And he just walked on. And the kids, they just actually sat and figured it out to an amazing accuracy. There was no formula given, nothing given. The kids came up with their own formula for what is area. They did not even know that what they were looking for was area. It was when once they finished the exercise that okay, they are going to require whatever 1600 of those 1 foot by 1 foot so cardboard pieces. That's when Bharat said, "Oh, know what you just did? You calculated area. And how did you do it? Oh, you did length integral."
Other way around.
It was completely the other way around. He did not give them anything. Says, "You see, I have this cardboard. We need to put it so that the whole ground gets covered. How many pieces of cardboard do you need?" They said, "Okay, you do it, and then we'll talk after that."
Oh, this needs time, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That is my whole point. Why do you need to rush? There is a fantastic video by Salman Khan, not of the acting fame, but of the Khan Academy fame, where he talks about this. You can watch it, it's a TED talk, it's just a 10-minute talk, where he says that we have never been focused on mastery, only on speed. Where a person who is getting 80% marks still doesn't know 20%. A person who is getting 95% still doesn't know 5%. And this keeps adding. So in the first standard, you got 70%, so you don't know 30%. Then the second standard, you got 80%, so you don't know 20%. Then the third standard, you got 60%, you don't know 40%. This keeps adding, and at some point, you're going to hit a wall because all those things that you don't know add up. Right? And he gives this example. He says, I want to build a house. So I call the construction guy and say, okay, you've got 4 months to make a foundation. So he makes the foundation. It's 80% done. 4 months done. Now come on, make the ground floor. Another 4 months. 1 semester. So you make the ground floor. Ground floor is 60% done. Now first floor. You got another 4 months.
That's so dangerous.
Would you live in a house like that? That is our education today. Because we are in such a rush. What is the rush? Give the kids the time to learn. Some children will learn fast, some children will learn slow, and that's fine, that's the way it is. The point of education is to learn, the point of education is not to pass. The point of education is not to get a piece of paper saying that so and so knows this, when they don't.
So mastery is what we should
Mastery. I still talk sensibly about mathematics after almost leaving it 25 years ago because I took 3.5 years for a 2-year course.
do. And it is such a
So I don't call myself a failure, I just call myself an advanced learner.
about diligent learning.
Yeah.
I think that's about it. If there are any questions here, we'll do
Any other questions, anybody?
When is your book going to be?
When is my book going to launch? 10th November in Bangalore with Guru. But we might not have copies in bookstores till the first week of December.
Because it's a Thursday, so there'll be live webcast 12 hours. All those who are listening today, of course, continue.
Okay. And hopefully next week I will have a recipe for you. Okay. hopefully next week we will have a recipe. And recipes are part of our book. I think food is an integral part to studying, more integral part to human existence, right? If you don't have food, from where you are going to study, from where you are going to live in the first place. So
Food creates the right mood for study.
sometimes for sleeping. But after that sleep, you are really in the right mood for study. So there are a few recipes in the book. I'm not going to talk about the recipes that are there in the book. That is for you to experiment with. We will do a few new ones, which are simple to do, and which you can make recipes with. Okay. So we will see you next week, Friday evening. 9 p.m.
Very good.